Non-Monogamy Help is a podcast where your questions about open, non-monogamous or polyamorous relationships are answered. Our host, Lola Phoenix, will consult a licensed therapist with over a decade of experience to address your problems. Names and locations have been changed or censored to keep your questions anonymous. You're listening to Non-Monogamy Help, the podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Non-Monogamy Help podcast. My name is Lola Phoenix. Non-Monogamy Help is a relationships advice podcast for non-monogamous relationships, and it's released every other week. This is the first episode, very exciting. This first episode is just my trial. I want to see how things go, and see if people are open to it, and the podcast may change in the future. I might, call people. That would be amazing. Or take calls or do something like that. But for the present day, it's just going to be me reading letters and giving advice. Because I really want to have Dan Savage's job, basically. Yeah. But for non-monogamy. I mean, I do it for any relationship as well. But in the meantime, let's just focus on this. So, if you've never heard of Non-Monogamy Help, it's a column on Medium. You can get to it by going to medium.com/non-monogamy-help. If you would like to get updates about when podcasts or columns are released, you can sign up to the newsletter, tinyletter.com/non-monogamy-help, no hyphens. And if you'd like to get the podcasts and the columns a bit early, you can become my patron on Patreon. It's patreon.com/Lola Phoenix. Yeah. Let's get to this episode's letter. This letter reads, "So I've been dating my boyfriend for a year today, and have been hanging out with and having sex with him and his wife for the past 5 months. We all have mental health challenges and have been slowly but surely working towards a happy and healthy throuple for the past 4 months. Here's the problem. The wife felt like whenever we had sex without her, we were disrespecting her and her needs. There are kids involved, so we can't all roll around together very often. She would tell us it was okay to have sex without her, but if something was to happen, she would explain to us that, in fact, it was not okay and be very upset. This got to the point that I informed the couple that the only way I would be comfortable having sex with my boyfriend is if the wife was there. At that point, the problem then became that me and my boyfriend were having not enough sex. It sucked, but I sucked it up, and keeping the wife's needs in mind, I kept trying to draw her into conversation and move towards setting up a throuple-style relationship I was told that the wife wanted. I felt very bad for causing her pain and wanted to make sure that my relationship with her husband wasn't hurting her in any way. So I was told last week that it was a lie. That instead of me and my boyfriend hurting her, that we were in fact providing a huge turn-on and feeding a kink that she had kept secret from me until last week and her husband from about 2 months. So instead of hurting her by going behind her back or by not including her, instead she was tucked up in bed enjoying herself. So whenever she would be upset that we broke a rule by not doing X, Y, or Z, currently, in fact, we were giving her what she asked for and set up. I'm upset and confused. I feel like I was tricked into service topping and like my consent was seen as not important, and that makes me feel like I am not important or a meaningful partner in my relationships with this couple. What hurts the most is my boyfriend lying to me and not at least coming clean about what was happening. She is having a lot of trouble with her mental health right now, and I don't think she tried to hurt me, but I think she did disregard my needs so that she could both have all the control and also be the victim whenever she chose. As well as being her husband's secondary partner, I also babysit for about 6 to 10 hours a week, help cook and clean, and buy the occasional groceries. I also spend a lot of time talking with the couple and my boyfriend about how we can better communicate and grow our relationship, or trying to help him fix his sometimes strained relationship with his wife. All this means our relationship has to have trust, and oftentimes I feel like she would be unable to function without the extra help. I don't know what to do and where to turn. I love my boyfriend, I love his kids, and I like his wife, but is that enough? Can I break up with his wife and stay with him? How do I talk to them about this? Am I making a bigger deal than it is? Any guidance would be amazing. Thank you so much. From a confused ex-unicorn." So, confused ex-unicorn, am I making a bigger deal than it is? No. I would argue that you're in fact not making a big enough deal about this. This is a major trust violation, like huge. And and on both sides. I mean, people have their kinks. People are interested in things. But you know what? Consent is like the foundation of it and needs to be the foundation. And if there is not informed consent by all parties, then in my opinion, it's not a kink. It's a problem. And yeah, this is really, really horrible. I mean, really, I feel for you because, I mean, you've been in this relationship for the past 5 months, and that's not a very long time to be in a relationship. But already you've, like, invested a lot in it. And for the vast majority of this relationship, for the vast majority of the relationship between you and his wife, and for 2 months you said her husband hid this from you, for half of your current, I mean, like, a little less than half, but, like, yeah, I don't know if that's 2 months, like, a good deal amount of time, her husband knew about this and didn't tell you. I mean, I think the question that, because you ask, I love my boyfriend, I love his kids, I like his wife, but is that enough? Can I break up with his wife and stay with him? And the question that I have to ask is why? Why stay with him? I mean, you've already been in this for 5 months, and both of them have committed an extremely huge violation of your trust. I mean, whenever people are beginning in relationships, and this is something that I write about in the column as well, quite frequently, everyone is insecure at the beginning of a relationship because you're just starting to form trust in one another. It involves a lot of vulnerability. It involves a lot of you don't really know this person. I mean, as much as you have all of the romantic feelings and excitement and, ooh, shiny, you don't know this person, and you are putting yourself in a very, very vulnerable position. You have to kind of just trust that this person is being honest with you. And it's that kind of, you're setting the foundations. And I always talk about on the column, I always talk about how building a house on, that old parable, as much as I'm not trying to be biblical, but because that idea of building your house on a solid foundation is really, really critical. In building trust together when you start off in a relationship is really, really important. And it's in this phases that a lot of people are insecure, and for very, very good reasons. It's not bad to be insecure. Starting off on something new is scary. Trusting people is scary, and that's fine. But you've trusted in them, and then they've basically violated your trust. I mean, this is a huge deal. If they wanted to organize something like this in a kink perspective, that would have been fine. And the weird thing is that you seem quite an open and flexible person, and I kind of feel like if they had approached you and said, oh, we have this kind of kink, would you be interested? I don't think you would have objected to it. So why? Why lie about this? Why keep this a secret? Why do this? It's just a very, very... it's just a very not cool and slightly odd thing to do, in my opinion, just to lie to you about this and keep this a secret and, put you through. I mean, I think you need to remember, as much as you love your boyfriend and you love his kids, this is, think of the stress on your life, the stress and the drama. It's a lot. And the other thing that I'm really kind of worried about that kind of is showing up some red flags for me is the fact that, okay, I'm not in a position to tell anyone, how to raise their kids. However you want to do it is up to you. From my personal experience as a kid who's had adults introduced into their lives and then had those adults basically piss off and not give a crap about me, that hurts. I don't believe in the conservative BS like, a child needs a mother and a father, or blah blah blah, or that people need gendered role models. I don't believe in that, but I do believe that kids need consistency, and I think they need people who are trustworthy and who say, if someone shows up in a kid's life and says, I care about you, I'm going to be there for you, I think it matters for that person to be true to their word. And when they're not true to their word, it really sucks for the kid. So you've been in this relationship for 5 months, and I kind of feel like would I introduce someone as, I mean, I'm not sure, because you say you babysits and you love the kids. It feels like you have a close relationship with the kids, but that's very strange to me for it just being a 5-month relationship, especially because you don't ever know how things are going to go. I mean, I'm glad that they're involving you in their family life. I mean, that's not a bad thing. I mean, you can have the opposite situation where, like, you feel like you're the mistress, basically, or you're hidden or you're shamed. But this is, like, kind of in the opposite direction too much. Like, you're spending 6 to 10 hours a week cooking, cleaning, babysitting, like, you know, they've allowed you to take care, to be a person in their child's life without really getting to know you, and also knowing that they're doing this to you. Like, I don't understand where they thought this would go, you know, if they thought they could just continue to do this, and at what point, you know, they had to think, or maybe they didn't think, but at some point you would either get sick of it and break up with both of them, or there would be they'd have to tell you that they've been lying to you, and then that would be a serious issue. And that has not only put themselves at risk in terms of their emotions and having you just to say, you know what, screw this, I'm leaving. They're now also putting their children at risk of you leaving, and their children losing that adult in their life who has been a caregiver for them. And that's a big deal for a child. And like I said, it's not my responsibility to tell someone how to take care of their kids. You know, that's their business. But it worries me that this is something that they've allowed to happen. And they don't see a problem with, or must not see a problem with, based on the fact that they've allowed it to happen. So, you know, I mean, you could, if you really wanted to, you could say, all right, you know, you've come forward. They told you. They didn't have to tell you. I'm not sure. It doesn't, you know, you say that you found out. I would be very curious to figure out what were the situations around why they told you. Was it that you were going to stumble upon it anyway? Or did they have a sudden moral crisis, or what was going on? Why did they suddenly decide to tell you, and why now? What, you know, I'm curious to know the motivations behind that, because I think, you know, you could say to them, all right, you told me, and if it was a situation, you know, where they honestly looked at themselves and said, you know what, this is wrong and we need to stop, maybe then you could say to them, all right, you've admitted to me that you messed up. To err is human. Let's get a couple of polyam and non-monogamy friendly couples therapist and work through this. I mean, it's 5 months into this. I feel like that's a very early time to be having so many struggles. But if you want to try, you could go down that route. If they told you because you would have found out, or some cat got let out of some bag, and not because they had I mean, they could just lie to you about that, to be honest. But, you know, it just, I think you need to look hard at this relationship, because you're babysitting, you're cooking and cleaning, and and the other thing, this is a big thing on the column as well, is that you say that, like, you're trying to help him fix his strained relationship with his wife, which is not your responsibility. Like, there's a line, like, sometimes I think polyamory advice gets way into the idea of super compartmentalization and, like, this weird capitalistic, like, everyone for themselves and pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You can't rely on anybody, and you're one, you know, like, I think it gets way into that, to a point that becomes unhealthy, to the point where you can't ask for help, to the point where even wanting or needing something from someone is somehow horrible. But equally, I think there's also an issue with it getting to a point where, like, women, or people read as women, are constantly super involved in ways that they don't really need to be. Like, there should be a healthy boundary there. It's not like you should not care at all about what's happening in your partner's lives. And obviously, if you're dating both of them, you care about both of them. But especially if you are dating both of them, it is a very not cool position for you to feel like you have to help with their relationship. Like, that's a really awkward position to be put in. And I'm not saying he put you in this position, but and it may be that you are volunteering for this and you need to not do that. But you shouldn't be involved in his other relationships and helping him. Where if he needs help with that, he needs to see a therapist. You are not his therapist, you know. And the fact that you're already, I mean, it's 5 months and you're, like, babysitting and cleaning and cooking and like, it's a lot, you know. And it may be, like, I love to cook, I don't consider it a chore to cook for the person that I'm living with, and I like it. However, you need to be cognizant of the fact that this can easily become a situation where you're being taken advantage of, and not just in terms of labor, but also like you're literally being taken advantage of, because they were using you for this situation, which was very unconsensual. I mean, you have been tricked into service topping against your consent. That's not okay. That's not kink. That is a violation. It's unacceptable. So this early into this relationship, you're already putting in 100% and they're putting in lies. Is this really something you want to salvage? I mean, I know you have super feels and it's hard to walk away from two people that you really care about, but they're demonstrating right now that they don't necessarily care about you in the same way you care about them. And is this something that you really, really want to continue? So you have, like I said, to sum up, you've got two options. You can either look at this and say, especially, and I would say only if they have come forward because they have realized what a fucked up thing they're doing and they're trying to make amends and they're honestly, and they could be lying about that. But like I said, you've got to go on people's word and you have to start trust from somewhere. So if they've come forward in that way, then you can sort of think about it and say, all right, to err is human. You need to step back away from being the referee between their relationship, because that is not something you should be doing. You need to think about getting a couples therapist who will understand the issues here, who can help you work through this. And maybe you can go that route if you'd like to, but honestly, I would really, really suggest you looking at this long and hard and going like, it's 5 months in, and I've been lied to the vast majority of this relationship. And not only have I been lied to, I've been kind of taken advantage of, because I'm taking care of kids, I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, and I'm always trying to make things work, but then I'm getting lied to. Is that worth preserving for 5 months? You've already invested 5 months of your life into this. Is that worth continuing to invest in? Because my immediate feelings based on reading this is no. Just because that's just such, and I feel really bad for you, and I'm really, really sorry that you're going through this, because it's such a massive violation of your trust. And it's, am I making a bigger deal? You're not making a big enough deal about what a violation this is, because it's really, really messed up, and I'm really sorry you're having to go through this. But yeah, that's what I have to say. I really hope this helps, and good luck. And that was the first episode of Non-Monogamy Help. Thank you so much. If you would like to get your question answered, please send it to nonmonogamyhelp@gmail.com. You can specify if you'd like it to be done on the podcast or on the column. Just as a reminder, if you want to get more episodes and you really, really like it, you can go to medium.com/non-monogamy-help. If you'd like to get them in your inbox, in case you can't be bothered with Medium, you can go to tinyletter.com/non-monogamy-help. You can also follow us on Twitter at non-monogamy-help, and if you want to be super amazing, then you can become a patron at patreon.com/LolaPhoenix, and you'll get the columns and the podcasts before anyone else does, and you'll be amazing. And at some point I might do something special for patrons. I might read their names aloud. I haven't really decided yet, especially if they donate a certain amount of money per month. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, in the meantime, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. You've been listening to Non-Monogamy Help. Our podcast music has been provided by Chris Albury Jones at albury-jones.com, and the art was made by Dom Jung at domduong.com. Thank you for listening.